All right. Hello, and welcome to the Legacy Insights Podcast. I am your host, Moving Money Mike, and this is episode number 2. Mind your business, right? We're here to discuss entrepreneurship and financial strategies to guide you to your goals and dreams, right? Simply put, we provide insight to get your mind and your money right. We're going to be covering topics, tips, interviews, webinars, open QA, current events, and how they affect you and how they should affect you in your legacy and financially. So this is huge. This is huge stuff we're going to be covering here, right? Not only this is going to be myself, we're going to have some guests coming around. We're going to have some entrepreneurs, experienced entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, people who are just starting out, right? We're a whole range of guests and topics to cover. My goal is to assist you in becoming a better informed entrepreneur and financially free. That's it. So it's time. So let's get smarter. Now, in the first episode, um, I asked you to consider a few things, right? I said, ask yourself, um, what is life without health? What is good? What good is health without wealth? What good is wealth without lifestyle? And what good is a lifestyle without a legacy? So it's time to revisit that, right? So when I say about minding your business, right, the question is, right, what are you doing to take yourself from where you are to where you want to be? Now you can't be all over the place. I struggle with that myself. It's just part of what it is, right? So here we go. Life without health. What good is it? No, we talk to ourselves all the time about uh, New Year's resolutions. We talk to ourselves and our loved ones about like taking care of themselves, going to the doctor, those types of things, right? But we got to understand something that minding our own business means, right? Personally, that we got to get our minds right. Right. See, though, and nothing else comes until we have the right attitude, we have the right goals, and the right presets, right, if you will, to getting on course. Right. That first episode was the introduction to who we are and what we do. Right. A little background. Right. But we're going to start diving in and expanding on, what we started. Right? So this is the question. What good is life without health? Right? So when you're looking at your life, when you're looking at where you're going and doing, are you considering your health? Right? Because nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, Mike, what has this got to do with being financially free? What has this got to do with being an entrepreneur? Right? It means everything. It means everything. You know, health health is the nucleus, if you will, to everything else. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and I'm getting, a little bit older, right? You know, they say like fine wine, right? You get a little bit older, you get a little bit better in some areas, you get a little seasoned, right? So I'm talking to you from some experience, right? That health is the cornerstone. Um, Unfortunately, I've had the experience, like a lot of you out there, that you've had friends, family, loved ones, associates, colleagues, pass in their prime, right? And I'm a firm believer that my life is my own damn fault. So in that, you know, my health is something that I need to mind my business, right? We are the CEOs of our lives, of our households, of our legacies, right? We got to be chief executive officers and operators, right, of those activities that's going to get us from uh, low health, medium health to wellness, right? And that's our job in minding our business. So I'm speaking to you out there. What good is life without health, right? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting enough sleep, right? When it comes to being financially free and being your best, right? Health is getting enough sleep is at least 6 7 hours. I would even suggest, less than 6 hours, man. If you're trying to just go at it at 6 hours, you can do it. Yeah, you can do it. You grind it out, especially if you're younger, right? You can grind it out, right? Because those are these in your money making years, right? That's what you want to do. You want to grind it out while you're young, so that when you get a little bit older and seasoned, right? The grind isn't got to be so hard, right? Right. You could afford to get 7 hours, right? You can afford to take 7 hour naps, or you know, start fitting other things in there that are pivotal to your health, right, and your well being. And also, you're going to work smarter, not harder, right? But when you're young and you're starting out, you have a lot less financial stability. You have a lot less savings. All right. So working 2 jobs, maybe 3 jobs, is something that you might need to do, right? But you got to mind your health inside that, right? So when you're saying to yourself, "Well, well, Michael, what does health got to do with financial well-being?" It's everything. It's everything, because you got to be able to keep going. All right, consistency, consistency in your rest and in your earnings. They go hand in hand, right? In my back in my previous days, right, of working, if I was only as good as the contract on the table, I was only as good as the next job, I was only as good as the overtime I was working. I was only as good as, right, depending on something else. And if I wasn't mentally and physically ready for it, I'd miss that opportunity, right? I don't know how many times you might have hit the snooze button and got to work late, or overworked yourself and missed some deadlines. It can happen. It can happen when you're not taking care of your health, right? When you're not getting enough rest, right? Are you eating properly, right? I just did a whole excuse me. I just did a whole regimen on on how, with going to my doctor. Let me silence this phone, right? That's live. This is live, man. We don't do edits on this show. We're gonna do everything straight up, right? Um, I just went to my doctor, did a whole battery of tests, right? Checking the plumbing, checking the blood pressure, checking the heart, ev- you know, and the reason being is because I want to keep going at this, right? I want to keep going at it. So, and I say that to say that I got a lot more to do, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there listening. You've got a lot more to do, right? So that is on the health side, right? You got to know where you're at. Are you eating properly? Are you going to the doctor? Are you making sure that, like, you know, um, all the plumbing's working, right? This is not just, you know, uh, uh, once in a while. It's consistency, right? Are because you're going to be working hard for the next, and you know what? I don't know how long, right? I don't plan on retiring in the same sense a lot of people say retirement, right? If you enjoy what you do, I'm already retired, right? I'm gonna always do this, right? And I hope that you can find something that you can always do. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Like, and so this is what this show is all about, right? So if you're out there and you're hearing the sound of my voice, subscribe, because this is the kind of content we're going to be covering, right? From the basics to the broad, right? To the specifics, right, of financial literacy and entrepreneurship, and how you get there, right? So hit that subscribe button and go to Legacy Insights Podcast, right? Hit the subscribe button, ride out with me, because we're going to take you on a voyage, right? Like I said, it was a maiden. Episode one was the maiden voyage, right? Um, how to get it out there, how to in the introduction to who we are and what we do, right? Now we're going to start getting the mind right, right? Because money is a mindset, right? Money is a tool, right? So starting with your life and your health is key, right? We got to start with the basics. A lot of people think that, oh, I got to get that money, got to get that money. Well, yeah, money is good, but it's not everything, right? Because you can't pay God with it, right? You can't pay the Creator with it. It'll help you, right? But without health taking you there, keeping you there, your money's going to be short lived, right? So here you go. We talk about what good is health without wealth, right? So this is the next piece of it, right? You're getting healthy, you're going to the gym, right? Those of you who are out there might be a little overweight or don't have enough weight on you, right? You want to make sure that you're addressing that. You're eating enough calories, you're eating enough protein, right? For those people who are overweight and want to cut some pounds, right? Make sure you're getting those aerobics in, right? Because hey, we're talking about the long haul here. We're talking about building a legacy and what it's going to take to do so. So that's going to take some consistency. It's going to take some time. It's going to take because there is no get rich quick schemes, right? There is no get rich fast things. You might get lucky and hit on some crypto here and there, right? If you got to put down $100,000 or more, right? If you got that kind of dough to lay out to gamble with, then good for you, right? But that's not most people. That's not who I'm talking to. I'm talking to those people who are going to have to grind it out day every day after day, right? And who's not waiting for something or something to get lucky on. I'm talking to those people who are here for the 9 to 5, the 365 people, right? Grinding it out. This show is for all of you who are looking to improve your situation going forward, right? No BS, straight talk, right? The people that I'm going to be introducing here and right, it's going to be giving you the straight shots, the straight shots of what it's going to take and how long it's going to take, right? Depending on your consistency, it's going to be depending on your health. It's going to be depending on how you do with your money, your attitude, your mindset, right? I told you, money is a mindset. This is what we're going to be covering. So I asked the second question. What good is health without wealth? Right? So now you worked on your health, right? Do you have a financial plan in place? Do you have any financial knowledge, right? Besides putting your money under the mattress. You don't know how many people I've talked to that say, "Hey, my kids are grown now, almost in college, but I have no savings." Wow. Um, it's almost like there's nothing you can do for them, unless they have cash. You know, there are a lot of strategies out there that are in place, to get the kids in college, but it requires debt. It requires going into more debt, right? That's the thing that you don't want to do, but you're going to have to because kids, if they're going to go to college, they're going to need that education, right? But what about getting started right now, right? Right? What about that, right? So we're talking about wealth, right? Because once you get your health together and you're working on it because it's a lifelong process. You're eating right, you're working out, right? You're taking time out for yourself. You're taking out time for your partner, right? Because health is not just eating right and going to the gym. It's the mental health and de-stressing, getting quality time, right? Are you spending quality time with loved ones, with family? Are you spending quality time, right, with the grandkids, right? Because that's part of that legacy, right? It was a tragic situation with a dear friend, work colleague um, of my significant other of over 35 years at a job and industry. Got sick, didn't feel well, Um, went to the hospital on a Thursday. Next morning was deceased. Had his whole life planned out. He had 3 more years. I think it was two, maybe 3 more years that they had planned on just calling it quits, retiring, buying a house, buying some ATVs for the grandkids, and we went to their funeral, or their viewing, um, just the other day, right? And it's how tragic that is. How tragic that is. You know, we're talking about, you know, being prepared, right? We're talking about being prepared. Hey, so it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, because I have a story. You know, our youngest son, 23 years old, unexpectedly passed in the prime of his life, right? So we're talking about, you know, what good is health without wealth at this point, right? So this gentleman, he had all the makings, he had the money, good position in the company, 30 plus years in the company, stock plan, 401k, uh, all the different vehicles that you could have, but he didn't take care of himself. Right? He didn't take care of himself, and that's a tragedy. That's a tragedy, right? So we've got to be mindful, right? Mind your business. That's what this episode is all about. Minding your business. I'm not talking about being private. I'm not talking about uh, uh, you know, being sharp with somebody, telling them, listen, go kick rocks, mind your damn business, right? Sometimes you might have to do that though, right? But I'm really speaking to minding our business in the sense that, hey, we need to look out for ourselves so that we can help others, in ourselves going forward, right? They say when you're on a plane and it's going down, right, you got to put your mask on first, right? You got to put your mask on first. And the reason they say that is because, hey, if you don't have oxygen, you don't have health, you don't have wealth, right? Who are you going to save? You can't even save your damn self, right? So what we're going to do is put our mask on with this information, and we're going to save ourselves, right? And then we're going to build that legacy, right? Then we're going to build those goals and dreams that we have, right? Because it truly is about leaving something for the next generation. There's many cultures out there who are doing it. There are many people out there doing it. I'm talking to those of you who have thought about it. I'm talking to you who are actually doing it, right? And want to make more of it, right? Because I'm going to definitely talk about the tools of the financial trade that's going to help to move you forward, right? We're going to talk about them. We're going to have some trainings on them, right? This is just a launch, people. This is just a launch. This is about getting your mind right. Because I told you, money's a tool, right? And we're going to step through this thing little by little, right? And make sure that you've got all the pieces and the nuggets, right? Because what's the sense of throwing out steak, right? And you haven't had the salad yet. You haven't had the appetizers, right? That steak is good, right? Because you want to build up to the meal. You want to have a great meal, right? So that's what I'm providing for you right now. These are just the appetizers, right? These are little finger foods before the entree and the dinner gets started, right? So let's talk about it, right? So as you're going, got your health, you're going and you're considering the wealth, and you're putting things in place, right? Is your job situated? You have good relationships, right, with the people at your job. You know, I tell you, I learned a long time ago to pay myself first. Are you paying yourself first, people? That's huge. I don't go to work to pay bills. I don't go to work to give my check to my partner. Nope. My spouse, nope. I don't go to work for her. Nope. I don't go to work to pay for the dog food. I don't go to work to pay the utility company. I go to work to put money in my pocket. And then they get what's left after that. Once I get it in my pocket, now it's up to me, right? You see where I'm coming from? It's up to me to pay these individuals. It's up to me to go get that money and make the best of it and use it appropriately. It's a tool. Don't mean I get that money to run to the mall. Don't mean I don't get that money to run to the American dream. Don't mean that I get that money to run to the club, right? Don't mean I do all that, right? It means get that money, put it in my pocket, and then see what it is I need to take care of, right? And how I can get that money to start working for me, right? Now, it ain't got to be all of it, right? But some of it has to start paying. I have to start paying myself first, right? So consider this in that wealth building that you're working on, right? Take 10% of whatever it is that you make and put that aside, right? Do you have a budget in place? Do you know where your money's going? Right? They say if you have a, a day where you go out and you do a whole bunch of things and you come back and you can't remember what you've done throughout that day, right? That means you really didn't have a plan and your day was just busy. It wasn't impactful because you just did some stuff, right? Being busy doesn't mean that you've actually gotten things done. Was it impactful, right? So what we want to talk about is, do you have a plan for your money? Do you have plan for your time, right? Because that's what you're doing just like for your health, right? You got to have a plan for health. You got to have a plan for your money, right? You got to have a plan for your life, right? Right? Because what good is wealth without a lifestyle? Right? See, this thing is building on itself. So this is why I said we got to start with the core, which is your health, so we can get to the wealth, right? Creating that wealth so that we can get to a lifestyle, right? Because that's what that's what this is all about. What's the sense of going to work and working hard if we're not going to have a lifestyle, right? But you got to have a plan in each one of these areas. And so that's what we're talking about here. So as you're building your wealth, right? We're going to get to the tips. We're going to get to the tricks. We're going to get to the products and services. We're going to tell you how they work. We're going to show them in action, right? We're going to talk to people who have used these tools, who are experts, uh, along with myself, my colleagues in the financial services industry, right? I'm a licensed financial specialist, right? This podcast is about not about me. This is your space, right? This is your vehicle, right? My job is to be the chauffeur, right? Is to help you get to where it is you're going, right? This is your place, right? I'm going to be providing Q&A so that you can talk to financial specialists, you can talk to the leaders, right? It's not about me. It's about making sure that you're armed with the right information to go out and make great informed decisions about your legacy, your life, your wealth, your health, right? It's about getting your mind right so you can get your money right, right? So as you're creating that wealth and you're starting to build a lifestyle, what kind of plan is it? What dreams do you have as far as the lifestyle is concerned? You got to get it. I'm challenging you people, everybody out there, to get a pen and a paper and put a plan in place. A plan for your health, a plan for your wealth. What kind of a lifestyle do you want to lead? Right? So, what is a lifestyle? What is it that you see yourself doing and how you're living? What kind of car do you want to drive? What kind of house do you want to live in? What kind of family do you want to have? What kind of friends and associates do you want to have? Right? That's what's key. I remember coming up when I was younger, I was hanging around people I had no business hanging around, right? Because I didn't have a plan. I didn't have anything, like who I wanted to be around. So I was just around a whole bunch of jokers doing a whole bunch of joking, right? And it made no sense because I got nowhere and they helped me get nowhere. We just all a bunch of running around doing a whole bunch of nothing, getting in trouble or just barely getting out of trouble, right? So I'm talking to you about having a plan for your health, your wealth, your lifestyle. Who is it that you want to be, right? And from there, we're talking about that's the legacy. Because once you have a lifestyle, people get to know you for who you are. They may have watched you all your life, and believe me, they're watching. There's some people who are probably saying right now, "Well, who does Michael think he is?" Right? Now he's moving money, Mike. Right? Who does he think he is? I remember that joker from school. Who does he think he is? Right? Well, guess what? It's an evolution. It's a learning process, right? It's a learning process. We're all going to go through it. So don't feel guilty. Don't feel bad about who you are and who you've been, right? Because it's not about where you were that matters. It's about where you're going, right? So we're going some places. I don't care where you are in your lifetime, what's going on in your life right now. Your life is up to you. And I told you, I'm a firm believer. My life is my own damn fault. So if I don't like the way my life is going, guess what? It's up to me to change it. And that's the great thing about this, right? Is because the moment I decide to change, the world's got to change with me. It doesn't have a choice. It doesn't have a choice. That's the beautiful thing about this. This is so powerful what I'm dropping right now. I'm telling you, the moment you decide to commit to changing your life and doing better than you did yesterday, the world's got to come along for the ride. It's got to come along for the ride, people. So that's what's happening, right? That's what I'm telling you. That's why I say moving money, Mike, is going to help you get your legacy, your money, and your mind right. That's just what it's all about, man. Because listen, we all got a limited time to be here, right? We don't know when it's going to be or how it's going to fall, right? But just know that the information we're going to be sharing with you here, the people who are going to be here talking and sharing are going to help you get to where it is that you're going, man, because we're going to be providing you with those nuggets and those insights to get everything right. Right. So as I was saying, what good is a lifestyle without a legacy? Because as you get your health right, as you get your wealth right, if you get that lifestyle going, right, and you start feeling good and doing good, right, and that's going to become your legacy, right? Because you're going to share those life experiences and good things that are happening to you with those people around you. And that's what they're going to get to know you for that, right? I don't know anybody who just said, you know what, I'm going to kick back and just be a bum. I want to be a bum. I don't know anybody who wants to say that. I know most people when they were kids, they growing up, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a nurse. I want to be an astronaut. Hell, I at one point in my life, I said to myself, there'd never be a black president. Well, hell, there was a black president, right? So don't let the power of the tongue stop you from becoming who you're supposed to be, right? Because I'm gonna tell you something. Um, there's three. I'm gonna drop this nugget right here. There's three important days in a person's life. Right. And I was going to hold back on this for another episode, but I'm gonna have to drop this right now because this is where we are. Right. There's three important days in every person's life. First, the first day, the first important day of a person's life is the day they were born. Your born day. Right. The second most important day of a person's life is when you find out why you were born. What was your gift? What is your gift? The thing that you do with the least amount of effort that you share with everybody. You just can do it, right? Hardly any effort, right? You might have learned something. It might just come to you, and boom, it just comes out. Boom. That's the second most important day of your life, is when you find out what your gift is, right? It might be cooking, it might be public speaking, it might be carpentry, it might be painting, it might be math, it might be history, it might be basketball, it might be sports, it could be theater, right? That's It is your gift, but you could do that with the least amount of effort. The third most important day of your any day in your life, and this is the biggest part, is the day you decide to you decide and commit to your gift. Boom. That's it. Those 3 days. Those are three most important days in a person's life: the day they were born, the day they find out what their gift was, and the day to decide and commit to their gift. And at that point, your life will change. Take your gift and shine it on the world, and it will take you to wherever it is that you're trying to go. Believe me, that's the biggest nugget I can drop for you today, right? So that's what we're talking about here. When you get your mind right, everything else comes along with it. When you get your health right, everything else comes along with it. That's what we're talking about here. That's the cornerstones, your mind and your health. You start building on those two, it'll take you wherever you want to go. So we're talking about getting to your legacy, right? Once you have that lifestyle in place, and it's working for you, the way you saw it, the way you planned it, the way you dreamed it, you put in the effort, right? You did not quit, right? Because this is until, right? My man Nipsey Hussle says the marathon will continue, right? But this is until we do this until, right? That's what this is all about. Living the legacy, right? And creating that legacy for yourself, for your loved ones, for your family, your children, and those around you. And we're going to be providing that information to in the insight to getting to that, right? So there's some people who are just starting out who are saying like, well, it all sounds real good, Mike, but you just don't know what's happened to me. You just don't know what I'm going through right now. I'm being hit all kind of ways. You know what I'm saying? The devil's working, man. These these demons are on me right now. Well, I can identify. I've had a journey myself, right? But it's not about me. It's about what I can do, what I can provide, and put out there to give you the hope that you can overcome. You can succeed, right? No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, this is what this show is about, right? Helping you to get your mind and your money right, right? No matter where you are, no matter what you've been going through, no matter where you've down, if you've been down, face down in the dirt, right? We're gonna help pick you up, right? If you middle of the road, right, and things are going good, and you just saying, "Wow, you know what? I just need a little bit more insight as to what to do with this extra bit of money I got and how I'm gonna get this money working for me." Boom, we got you. We got you, right? If you're working and you've already got money going, and you're saying, "Oh wow, you know, I'm at this point in my life where I got so much money and these taxes are killing me," right? We got some retirement tax free strategies for you too, right? With also, let me say this to those people who are a little bit more advanced in their financial strategies, right? We're going to have a CFP my mentor on one of our shows, right? I'm coming up with the segment, um, so our CFP can come on, my mentor, and talk to those people who are above average in their finances and their financial knowledge, and be able to lay out a strategy and a financial plan to reduce their taxes and get it into a tax-free retirement, right? That is ultimately where we all want to be, right? So we're going to talk about all this stuff. And I know you're probably saying, Mike, it sounds good, right? But hey, hold on. This is only the second episode. Mind your business, right? That's what this is all about, right? Listen, I can't get to where I'm going if I'm minding somebody else's business, man. There's no way in hell I'm gonna do it, right? But I gotta mind my business. I gotta mind my address. I gotta mind my business where I'm at, right? It has nothing to do with the government. This show has no political affiliation, right? Nope. This show is about the haves and the have-nots, right? Because that's how the government operates. This is a capitalist society, right? So my responsibility is to make sure you are armed with the information to move yourself from where you are to where you're going with the least amount of effort. So if you like what I'm saying, stick with me, right? Stick with us here, right? Because like I said, I'm gonna have my colleagues on here. I'm gonna have some from everybody, just about every industry on here, doing all different types of things in all different areas, all different levels, right? So that we can make sure that those of you who are listening in, who are faithfully following us at Legacy Insights Podcast, can get the information and you need to move yourself to the next level, right? Into the next stage in your development, right? In the next stage of your life, in your health, in your wealth, right? In your lifestyle, and then ultimately in your legacy, right? So I am your host, Moving Money Mike. Go over the legacy at Legacy Insights Podcast. Hit that subscribe button. Stick with us. Hang in there, right? We got a lot more to offer you, right? I just wanted to get back to those couple of questions. What good is life without health? What good is health without wealth? What good is wealth without a lifestyle? And what good is a lifestyle without a legacy, right? Very, very important. So you need to tap in with those topics, right? Get your health straight, right? Get your health straight. If you haven't gotten a checkup, go get one. If you're not getting a minimum of 6 to 7 hours of sleep every night, set that alarm clock. Get to bed early, right? Next, when it comes to your money, save 10%. Start out saving 10%. Get a budget. We're gonna touch on base on that. I'm gonna get some tools out there. Share some things with you. How to set up a budget correctly. What to do about your credit, all that kind of stuff. Um, and then we're gonna talk about lifestyle, right? That's pretty much a personal thing, right? That's pretty personal, but your lifestyle is going to have to be built around your health and your wealth building, right? That's why you said you got a plan. You got to get a plan. You might have to have a couple of different books, one for your health, one for your wealth, one for your lifestyle, and then what your life you want your life to look like, right? Your legacy. What do you want to leave as a not just for anybody or anyone, but how do you want to be remembered? See, that's your legacy. How do you want to be remembered, right? Everybody that was born for a mission. You have a mission. What is that mission, right? Some people were born to have babies that were going to go on and be somebody. Some of us were born to come into this world to become business owners and help families to put food on the table. Other people were born to bring smiles to other people's faces, right? Just to be good people, right? But we all have a mission here. We all have a goal. We all have gifts, right? What we want to do with this show is provide you the insight to what your gifts are and how you can make your legacy a lasting one, right? So if that matters to you, this show is for you. I'm Moving Money Mike. This is the Legacy Insights podcast, and I want to thank you so much for your time, right? I want to thank you so much for the privilege of your time, and we're going to be checking out, right? So stick with us, hit that button, subscribe to Legacy Insights podcast. Stick with us for the journey, and we'll see you soon.